Oh, hey there, jump scarers. Today we're gonna have a Switch's Fnaf Help Wanted review. But first, let's talk about this thing beside me is my rating system, and it is that I take 5 categories depending on the subject in hand, and then rate every one of them out of 10, then combine them together to get something out of 50. After all that shit before the review, I wanna clarify that unlike the last few 123Z reviews where I either didn't have much gameplay knowledge in the franchise or the game I'm reviewing is the only one I played, here I'm an active fan of the Fnaf franchise. Like, I watched all the videos, animations, theories, songs, etc. And of course, I played every game. What's the cowardly way of closing the audio and every time I expect a jump scare at 80 degrees my phone screen? Please don't make fun of me in the comments. But here, what I'm planning to answer is things like, but not limited to, how does the remade versions of these games / mini games hold up to the original versions? And are the new modes that good? And more importantly, is this worth the non-VR Switch price of $40? Or should you wait for a sale? Anyway, let's start a review with... Thanks, Listicand. Anyways, this is whatever. Anyways, I'm kinda hungry. What should we eat? What the further with this at me? Huh? Oh, look, it's a job at Freddy's. If we took a whole 5 nights, we could buy a whole big pizza. I mean, a medium pizza. Woohoo! And my first point is the atmosphere and porting. Anyway, let's start praising the atmosphere, at least the Office gameplay, with its perfect fully 3D recreations of these beloved games. Okay, calling 3 beloved is an overstatement, but just deal with me. With lots of cool new stuff that really help to build the atmosphere to this game. Like how instead of having you open the camera and having the camera fill your whole screen and you easily seeing the animatronics, here it's just a small screen in your desk, which in 2 and 3 is always on your side, just dark and ominous, with you barely being able to see some animatronics in dark. Or how you can sometimes see some animatronics move robotically and creepily from place to place, and it's perfectly mixed with the classic animatronics teleporting from place to place. Like in Fnaf 1, the animatronics teleport from place to place in the cameras, but when they're ready to be in the cameras beside you, they walk beside the office itself and into the cameras beside you, and you can see them if you open the lights and don't open them for too long or they'll jump scare you. Or in 2, they walk in the hallways in front of you and into the room, or just stand there afterwards. Or in Fnaf 3, you see Springtrap in the cameras walk from room to room or from vent to vent, and you fail and he's in the vent beside you, he crawls slowly to you ready to kill you. But when he's in the window in front of you, the lights go out and he either teleports back or teleports in the door beside you, just standing there ominously ready to jump scare you. And the jump scares in this game are another thing to praise for the atmosphere, because they're so good and in par with the originals. Heck, some of them are actually better than the originals, like Foxy changing from, hey, I'm looking for some milk, do you have some, to actually being scary, and Springtrap from, hey there, can I have a handshake with you, to looking like he has like a seizure. Okay, that one isn't even that good, but we still get my point. And yes, these same praises are in the other minigame-esque gameplay mode, but I don't wanna waste your time detailing every one of them, because you already got my point across. And I might talk about them in their segments. And if you're questioning about the switchboarding job, I didn't play the other versions, but I loved it. Yeah, it wasn't as graphically impressive, but that's expected. And it's still pretty good looking. And yes, in my bazillion playthroughs, I found a few glitches. Wow, who would have thought that replaying a game multiple times would make you discover new glitches every once in a while. What are you, a game tester? And those kind of glitches that happen once in a while and never again can be pretty funny and don't really kill the whole game, except if you're like really picky or something. But there's a few that keep reoccurring so much that they feel like features by this point, like a baby level where you could stand there ominously or jump scare you in the weirdest way possible, which I'm pretty sure isn't supposed to happen. Whatever the heck the problem with it, the 6 AM clock in Fnaf 4, which I'm also pretty sure isn't supposed to happen. Anywho, because the atmosphere is just perfect and the porting is pretty good, but with a few stupid reoccurring glitches, this gets a 8.5 out of 10. Oh yeah, I remembered, I was reviewing a video game, not a visual movie. So let's talk about the video game, starting with... Hi. Is that how it was there? And my second to fourth points are the gameplay. And in this game, there's 3 different kinds of gameplay styles. But in this segment, I'm only talking about the first one, being the main gameplay, aka the classic office gameplay. Anyway, let's start with telling you that it has problems. Like gameplay-wise, in its core, it's the same fun gameplay from the past games. But when you look at the bigger picture, you realize that these are easier, less fun versions of these games. Like, for example, the OG version of Fnaf 3 made you switch between 4 different situations, like looking at the cameras, luring them away from you with the audio cues. And the second one is looking at the vents and close specific vents to prevent them from coming to you. And if you get jump scares by a withered animatronic, or the game kinda feels like it, something will stop working, because either the camera, the audio, or the ventilation, aka making it harder to see and easier for the animatronic to come to you and kill you. And because of it, you have to restart the specific ones or click on the restart all from the restart system menu, and you're just standing there defenseless. And you also have to switch out these things to make sure he's not beside you. And I love that whatever position you're in, you're defended one way or another, making it super scary. But here, because you're always in the outside view, you don't have to switch them out, so that's out of the picture. And now you can fully use the system restart button without having to keep looking at it, so you can spam the audio button as much as you want. And the CPU for during sprint tap is so brokenly easy that there were nights that I didn't even have to even think about looking at the vents. Like, they somehow screwed up FNAF 3 and that game is already screwed up. But the worst offender is my baby boy FNAF 2. Like, what they have done to you. Like, this game was perfect in my eyes, and he screwed it up by having the same problem as FNAF 3. Just like that game, you had multiple positions and multiple and consistently changing things that you had to think about, like having to wind up the puppet box in the cameras and make sure no animatronic is close to you from looking at the cameras outside of the vents. And if there's any animatronic close to you, not just in the room, put your mask on, but not for long, or the puppet / or Foxy will jump scare you. And the only way to defeat Foxy is by using their flashlight on him and burn his eyes to death. But the flashlight has a battery life, the same battery life you use to see the animatronics in the dark in the camera. So basically, you know the drill here. You only put the mask on when animatronic is literally in the room, not close to it. And you can wind up the box while using the cameras and the camera's flashlight and the outside flashlight. And if you use the easily accessible mask glitch, that means that you can literally do everything at once with no challenge or brain power at all, which is so much worse. If I mentioned to you that all the other animatronics except Foxy are not available until the 7th night. You heard me, the 7th night. Like, wow, that's absurd. And yes, I know what you're about to say, but Yosef, this was originally a VR game. Of course it's easier. Well, we're not talking about the VR game right now, are we? We're talking about the non-VR Switch version. And the non-VR Switch version has these problems. But these problems can easily be fixed. From my experience, it's called not using the exploit. Yeah, that's it. You can prevent yourself from spamming the audio cue or restarting the camera. You can prevent yourself from winding the box while using the mask glitch. And that's it. That's all you have to do. And if you do that, like I do, with the visual stuff I already talked about, and with actually smart and fun to play against CPU, it's really fun. Anyway, with the amount of exploits that make the game worse but can easily not be used, mixed with bad stuff that can be changed, and because FNAF 1 actually doesn't have any of these problems, this gets a mediocre 5 out of 10. But that's the first kind of gameplay. The second one is... You know what? Maybe I should just relax a little. Ah! Oh my gosh! Who said I need that many helping hands? And my third point is the repair gameplay, which includes repairing the main 4 animatronics and repairing the vents. And I will rate both out of 5 to make it easier on myself. So let's start with repairing the main cast of characters. And in it, the basic concept is that you play Simon Says. Or in other words, you hear what that guy tells you and you do it. Like, he tells you to take Bunny's eye out and put it in the left cleaning receptacle, then you do it. Which in VR, I'm pretty sure is super scary. Like having to stretch your hands out to an animatronic's face, trying to hold the eye out without getting jump scared is probably stressing. But in non-VR context, okay, here, it's not as good and probably could never have been. And what they did is pretty okay. Like seeing the models in front of you is still super cool. Especially when they have sudden movement to give you goosebumps. And seeing them get fixed throughout the minigame is cool as well. But gameplay wise, it's lacking at best. For example, instead of reaching out for something to take or somewhere to put it, you have to just point there and click a button. And the game has these items and places laid out already, just fine. If it works. Because most of the time, it doesn't. Like the amount of time I start to put something on one of the layouts and just falls on the ground, killing me for no reason is unbelievable. And the worst offender in this is Foxy. Like the amount of times I tried to pick up one of these batteries and for no reason, another battery falls on the ground, killing me is even worse. Replayability wise, it's alright. Like there's some good aspects. For example, the note that needs to be fixed in Bonnie's minigame is different every time. Same with Foxy's receptacle colors, with the place that Chica's cupcake appears in after running away is different every time as well. And that's it. Everything else is literally the same every time, which gets so boring and repetitive so fast, especially with it having zero tension. Like I'm not even asking for much. For example, in Foxy's repair minigame, I want the order to fix Foxy's parts different every time with something scary or a time limit. But no, it's literally the same pattern of leg, then arm, then chest, then eye. Anywho, because the animatronics being in front of you and getting fixed is kinda cool, but it having multiple technical problems and barely any replayability, this gets a 2 out of 5. But something else you can fix is my subscriber count by subscribing and hitting the bell and giving me feedback by liking or disliking and commenting on this video, and maybe even following me on twitter.com for random art and webcomics. Do you know what? Maybe I should fix not being such a sellout. But until then, let's talk about fixing some vents. And to start, same thing about it being better on VR and same use of the cursor. But the difference is, this is a lot better and more stressing and scary. There's nothing to pick up or put anywhere, so it works perfectly. And the only part with this mechanic works flawlessly. And its replayability is a lot better, because a lot of the puzzles do actually change every time. Like the colors of these things change every time in Mango's minigame, or the layout and order of the buttons in Innard's minigame actually change every time too. And best of all, there's actual tension in them. Like having to keep looking around you in the Mangle's minigame while fixing things so it doesn't kill you, or in Innard's minigame there's animatronics that go slowly, yet surely to the screen like Springtrap or Innard, so you have to solve the puzzles quickly. And overall, it's a lot of fun, which easily gives it a 5 out of 5 in my book, which also means a 7 out of 10 for the repair minigame as a whole. Which brings us to the last gameplay style, being... I guess this place works on like reverse gravity or something. What the? Huh? Oh yeah, 6 a.m. Can we like continue this tomorrow or something? You know, I'm kind of busy. Oh, okay, yeah, okay, thank you, bye. And my fourth segment is LiDAR Raccoons. And in my opinion, it's the best part of this game. And for this segment, I will be using the hard mode of these mini games for the most part, because here, they're not just a cool coat of paint or literally the fifth night of Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, you literally can't make this shit up. Anyways, let's start on why I love this part of the game. And the words that describe the dark room minigames is fear of the unknown. Or at least there's a definition of it. Like, for example, what is his name again? Nightmare Balloon Guy's minigame, which is based off the Fnaf 4 minigame, where in it you have 90 seconds to make Balloon Man sit on the X, and that can only happen if you keep your flashlight off until you think he is on the X in front of you. And you can't keep the flashlight off for too long, you're dead, and you can't open it too frequently or he'll just not move at all and kill you when the timer reaches 0. So throughout this minigame, you don't know if or when you should open the flashlight. Made even scarier in the hard mode, with you fearing the unknown not only in the dark, but when the flashlight is on too, because it's less powerful and there's a lot of moving balloons around you, so you have to squeeze your eyes to see if he moved or not. And Balloon Fella isn't the only great minigame with Fear of the Unknown concept. The other ones are great as well, with different types of gameplay, like Fun Time Foxy. No, not that one. And the basic concept to it is that you have to walk in the dark to reach the door on the other side of the room, while you have to flash your light every once in a while to make sure you don't bump into Fun Time Foxy, which is based off the sister location minigame. But here, it's a lot better, or at least the armor version of it, because it has a lot more depth to it, like having multiple other animatronics that stand in place, and if you bump into them, you die. And to accommodate, you have full 3D movement. So in this version, you use the flashlight to see the standing animatronics and the constantly moving Funtime Foxy, and try to move in between or around them, while trying to use the flashlight as little as possible and reach the door as quickly as possible, or Foxy will kill you. And it's genuinely the most scary and stressing part of this whole game for me. There's other dark rooms or dark room-like minigames and what I just talked about, but I wanna leave a few surprises for you, the viewer, especially that I feel like I got my point across, that these minigames are great and scary, so they get a 10 out of 10 in my book. But Fnaf is not only known for just the fun arcade gameplay, but also... Okay, let's continue. Oh wait a minute, you're actually stuck to the door. Look at this idiot, you can't even move anymore. What you gonna do? You're stuck to the door. Wait, what's happening? It's so dark. I'm gonna die. Wait a minute. I actually did kill the other animatronics. Joke's on you, you're still stuck and I'm gonna win. So anyways, and my last segment is Collectables or Story, because they're connected together, and of course I'll rate both of them out of 5. So anyways, let's start with the collectibles. And in this game, there's actually 3 different collectibles. The first one is the collectible figurines and more, which you can get in 2 ways. First one is by getting them from gift boxes, and it's how you get most of them actually. And you get the gift boxes every time you beat any stage, which incentivizes replayability, and without any repeats, which is always welcome in my book. And the collectibles themselves are really cool, from Fnaf themed candies to cute plushies and little figurines. Great in-game advertising and for real life merch there, guys, and sometimes the advertising. Anyway, and you can view any of them at any time in a prize corner looking place, which reminds me of my local theme park, which is super cool. Also, for the last one, if you eat too many figurines in a row, you will choke to death, which is the funniest way to die in a video game I've ever seen one. But if I had to complain about something, it's that when you get all the collectibles from the gift boxes, they don't just stop giving you gift boxes, or at least keep giving you randomized repeats to make it a little less tedious. No, they just keep giving you gift boxes with only slices of cake in them every single time you finish a mini game, which gets so freaking annoying so fast to have to see a loading screen, then clicking a button for 5 seconds, then grab and eat/throw the cake slice, then click the button in front of you, then wait for another loading screen just to get out of the minigame after beating it to the hub world. Let's just continue. And the second and third collectibles are 1. The fast coins, which are used to buy specific things from the prize corner, from a basketball to a little cockroach. Cool. And the glitch tapes, which are used for story and ending purposes, which I'll get to later. And you get both of them by finding them in the mini games and nights, and even some in the hub world. And collecting them is super fun because they are hidden in multiple different ways, from a drawer to just somewhere in front of you, even on just a few little TV, as just examples in Fnaf 1. So I really like them because the process of collecting the collectibles and the final rewards are really great, but I hated eating their cakes afterwards. This gets a 4.5 out of 5. And lastly but not least, the endings and story. And I don't want to get too much into them for spoiler reasons, so I'll keep it brief. So the non-spoiler story is that you are a playtester for an in-universe Freddy's VR title, and that you discover cursed things and try to find out the real story of the previous in-universe playtester along the way. And it's easier to understand the full story without playing other titles, because it's like a new beginnings of sorts for the franchise, because the previous game's story ended with the game before it. Basically being that the dead kid's souls rested and the purple man went to hell for all eternity, never to be seen again, except as a digital mind controlling piece of code, I guess. At least it's not a real him, and the real purple man is going to be left dead for all eternity. And it's the same classic formula for Fnaf of giving you enough information for the average person to understand, but being vague enough for MadPat to be able to make a shit ton of content. Anyways, and my only criticism for the game's story is that it doesn't have any of the classic 8-bit minigames or in all the prior Fnaf games, and were my favorite parts too. And before you say, but uses on the strange, it's on the mobile versions that are released months after the Switch version. And again, we're not talking about that version, we're talking about the Switch version exclusively. But it's still understandable if the original game doesn't have it, you know, being a VR title and all. So I'm not gonna be too harsh about that. So anyways, because the beginner friendly yet still true to the franchise-esque story and having multiple endings but not having the pun intended classic like 8-bit games, this gets a 4 out of 5, which means a 7 out of 10 for the Collectables and Story. It's actually really great that they only made us work like 2 days and they gave us a pizza just to never come again. What a great company. You know, this medium pizza isn't actually the price of my check that I was supposed to get. Hey, shut up. It's still a delicious pizza. Anyways, here you go. And I'll just eat mine. Delicious pizza. Anyways, how am I gonna go up the tower? What? Oh yeah, shit, I haven't actually killed Freddy. Wait, what, is this like cartoon logic? I'll take it. Anyways, you already know the scores. And all together, combined, give us, oh yeah, a little bit of pizza crust, okay? A 39 out of 50. Ouch. Should have been having a warning this time. Okay, so, seeing that I'm done, let's share my final thoughts. And my final thoughts are that if you're a beginner that never played a Fnaf game before, then this is a perfect package for you. From the simpler story to the best of album-like collection of the best and most beloved Fnaf games and mini games plus Fnaf 3 and lots of new stuff too. And yes, most of the glitches I talked about were fixed in the time it took to release this video. Like, did I say accidentally became a reaction channel for like half a year? I became the thing I hated the most. Anyways, but if you're a hardcore Fnaf fan like myself, then this is a mixed bag in my opinion. From the worst version of arguably the most important part of these games, you know, the knights themselves, but the best version of the other beloved minigames, and the new stuff are a mixed bag as some are great and others are not so much. So I personally recommend to hardcore fans to either only play the VR version and if you can, and if you really need that Fnaf fix of yours on the Switch, then just buy all the games from Fnaf 1 to Fnaf 6 education for exactly the same price, with more content for hardcore fans. That was my final thought. So hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe, blah blah blah. Maybe after that unexpected jump scare, I should go to therapy now. You don't laugh at that, okay?